to come together, to seek each other out.
From the smallest community to the largest city, Americans gathered in stadiums across the country as football galvanized us, reassured us that we stood together as a nation.
Football is America. It brings together Americans from all walks of life, political beliefs, races, and professions.
For a few hours, Americans are one. It's a phenomenon that happens in every community at any given football game.
I know football helped heal our nation and brought us joy during trying times.
Football is America. Football exemplifies the flame of tenacity that burns inside of all of us.
Football reminds us of the character, the leadership, the perseverance, and ideals that we value.
Ideals that we all value.
Football is America.
As we face the anniversary of 9/11, football reminds us of the sacrifices made by our firefighters, police, and military who protect and serve each of us.
Football is America.
Football inspires the very things we would like to see in ourselves as we experience life and pursue happiness and success.
Football is America.
We get knocked down, we get back up.
We strive to do better today than we did yesterday.
Football is America.
As a player, when I remember 9/11, I see the faces of Americans who needed something to hold on to, something that was familiar, that inspired the excellence of our nation.
For me, and I know for many others, we found it in the values of football.
Football is America.
9/11 impacted every American. It did not discriminate.
Today in stadiums across the country, we see 80,000 fans standing and saluting our flag.
Honoring our first responders, respecting our frontline public servants.
Football is America.
Football proves that diverse people can use their individual talents towards a common goal.
It is a motto of diversity and inclusion, working together for a greater cause.
Football is America. It makes America great. It harnesses the best in us.
Respect, resilience, trust, loyalty, and courage.
Wow. I had to start the show off today with that introduction. That's one of my favorite tributes to 9/11 that the NFL put together about 8-9 years ago. And some of the players that we were able to, watch over the last few years were a big part of that video. Julian Edelman, Jason Witten, Willie McGinnis, and many, many more. Anquan Bolden. Those guys put that video together. Von Miller, then of the Denver Broncos. And it's one that chokes me up on this day, 9/11, 2024, 9/11, 2001, each year that passes since one of the darkest days in our nation's history. I am further reminded each year of that day. That one will always be in my memory, and one that will be in the memories of all the families that lost their fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, grandmas, grandpas, in that unspeakable tragedy. So my thoughts and prayers are with all the families out there that lost someone 23 years ago, and one of the darkest days, in my opinion, the darkest day in our nation's history. So with that being said, felt like it was only right to start the show off that way. And with that being said, let's talk about some football, because at the end of the day, football, as the video said, is America. You get knocked down in football, you get back up, and that's just what we did after 9/11. I saw more patriotism, more flags flying proudly on front porches than I had ever seen prior, and that's something that I always like to see. So, of course, this is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. You guys are tuning in live Wednesday night at 8. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you guys can fire away your comments in the comment section below as I give you an all-out preview and prediction for the Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins upcoming battle. And, of course, I already kind of gave a little bit of a preview and prediction, but in all honesty, I don't feel like it was my best. I feel like I could have done a little bit more. I could have done a little bit better, which is why I wanted to bring you another edition of a preview tonight. And to put it mildly, this is as massive a game as humanly possible in week 2. Look at any game in week 2. The NFL loves to put together a hell of a schedule each and every season. But this game is the biggest game on the NFL schedule. But it's the biggest game, I think, in Thursday night football this season to date. And yes, the season's only 2 weeks, but I think it could potentially be the biggest Thursday night football game of the season as the season progresses, as the winner of this game trudges forward, as the loser of this game trudges forward. It could be one that has major implications, I guess I could say, in this AFC East, you name it. So the show sponsor is 26shirts.com for all of your Buffalo Bills needs, Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo apparel needs. Go to 26shirts.com. You'll be able to find a great item or two on that site. First things first, got to mention the fact that this week 2 preview is brought to you by 26 Shirts. They do great work for the community, and they obviously love Buffalo, and don't we all, right? So definitely give them a look, give them a shout, give them a holler, and I know you guys will definitely enjoy finding a great apparel item at 26shirts.com. So, of course, as I mentioned, this is the Bills versus Dolphins week 2 preview. And I think what makes this game so special is that the rivalry is back. The Finns and the Bills, squish the fish, all of the verbiage that Bills Mafia uses to celebrate this game, to be together as a rivalry, whether you're on the Bills side, whether you're on the Dolphins side. It's a rivalry that I think really has needed a lot of juice, that has lacked a lot of juice over a long period of time, that is now getting the juice that it deserves, or the gas, as the kids say, that it deserves, with Josh Allen, with Tua, with Tyreek. And man, I'll talk about him a little bit in the situation that transpired prior to last week's contest between the Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But this season has been a very interesting one thus far for both of these teams. They're both coming off of very close wins at home. The Dolphins came away from a 20-17 victory with the Jacksonville Jaguars, winning that game in the final second of regulation with a great kick by Jason Sanders straight through the uprights. And good, Miami wins. They do not have to go to overtime with Jacksonville. And then Buffalo had this, little bit of give and take game with the Arizona Cardinals. They were able to come away with a win 34-28 after being down 17-10 at the half. So there was a lot to really like about Buffalo's performance in the second half. There's a lot to really like about Miami's bounce back effort. Tipping my cap to them, the takeaway, Travis Etienne's fumble, was really what essentially helped Miami get to the level that they were able to in achieving a win this past Sunday. So both teams on short rest. Both teams are going through a little bit of an identity crisis on offense, where Devin Achane, he could be out. Raheem Mostert, he was ruled out already. So both teams, Dolphins with the run game, Buffalo offensively, a little bit of an identity crisis, dare I say. Buffalo had to really utilize James Cook last week, I think far more than they ever had before, and it worked. It allowed them to get back in the game. It allowed them to get the hard-earned yards that they really needed, and it allowed Arizona a lack of an opportunity to really work within the clock and make something out of their offensive drives late in the game. So I think the run game for both teams is extremely important in these two offenses, far more than what is talked about. It's talked about as Tua, Tyreek, Waddle. It's talked about as Josh Allen. Used to be Stephon Diggs, but now it's Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, who I saw a lot of really good things from in his rookie debut. 4 catches, 51 yards, leading receiver, I might add, on the Buffalo Bills stat sheet for his rookie debut, which is a great feather in his cap. But when I look at this game, I see a lot of different variables, and the variable that just echoes in my head whenever I look at the matchup between the Finns and Bills is the Finns wideouts. The Finns wideouts versus Buffalo's secondary. So I used to be able to say that it is Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle versus Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. But now it's now it's Tyreek Hill, pardon me. It's Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and it's not Jordan Poyer. It's not Micah Hyde. It's DeMar Hamlin. It's Taylor Rapp. Could potentially be Cole Bishop. Could see some Cole Bishop in his rookie debut this upcoming week. But that matters. Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford, those guys really matter in this matchup between the Dolphins and the Bills. Because as I mentioned, Miami's run game is banged up. Raheem Mostert is out. Devin Achane, game time decision per reports that were listed today. If, in fact, both of those running backs are out, Jalen Wright, a rookie, will get the nod at the starting running back position. Hold your breath, fantasy football owners of Jalen Wright could be in for a big day, at least carries-wise, opportunity-wise. Will those opportunities lead to the yardage that you're hoping for? Will those opportunities lead to the touchdown that you're hoping for? I don't know, but I hope not. But at the very least, rookie watch, it's always fun to throw the fantasy football wrinkle in there. But nevertheless, that's the matchup. Miami's wide receivers versus Buffalo's secondary. And realistically, Miami's got two of the very best, I think, as far as a 1-2 punch that the league has to offer. And realistically, we talk about, all the different players in this league. Tyreek Hill, where does he stack among the rest of them in terms of pure talent? He's right at the tip top. But when you talk about off the field stuff, that's when you have a lot to talk about too. Because last week was interesting. The saga really does continue with Tyreek Hill because he's as talented a player as any, but he always seems to find himself in these peculiar situations. This time, though, a direct situation with law enforcement that saw a video posted, body cam footage that I will be the first to admit. I found it disturbing on a lot of levels, on both levels. I found it very disturbing. Now, I'm not trying to get political within this show, and that's not what I do, but it did impact the game last week that Tyreek Hill had because the day started that way and it ended another way. And the way it ended was Tyreek Hill having a Tyreek Hill day. So what I mean by the saga continuing, I mean Tyreek Hill finds himself in these situations now and then, and yet he's still elite. He's still productive. He still finds a way to, I guess, put the shades on and just do his thing. And that's why I did that, because Tyreek Hill is one of the most, I would say, dynamic, cool, calm, and collected players out on the field that the NFL has to offer. Now, I can say all that, but I can also say that I hope that the Buffalo Bills do everything they can in shutting him down. Shutting down Tyreek Hill is the key, I think, to victory, the single key to victory for the Buffalo Bills. Now, what makes Tua a dangerous quarterback is the fact that Tua drops back and he gets rid of the ball extremely quick. He'll drop back, 3-step drop, boom, it's out of his hand. Left hand in this case. He's throwing left. So he'll get rid of that ball really quick. And when he does that, he's got the ability to do that because in those short little windows, Tyreek Hill can find a way to get open with that little short circuit speed that he's got in really short distances within 5 yards. He can find a way. Now, Jalen Waddle in his own right, he had a concussion last week. He was ruled out. He didn't finish the game last week. But even in that little, microcosm of a game, the Finns wide receivers were productive, but they couldn't get in the end zone. And if they couldn't get in the end zone against Jacksonville's defense, which is not that great, I have a hard time believing that they can get in the end zone via the air often or as often as they did against Jacksonville, against Buffalo. As crazy as it sounds, the one thing that we have to talk about with these two teams is that they are experienced playing against one another. They're two teams that understand how to play against one another. So with that being said, to give you guys the score prediction, I do think that this is going to be a close game, but I do have the Buffalo Bills winning it. I'm going to go 28-20 Bills. Miami scores as many points as they did against Jacksonville. They won 20-17. Buffalo scores 28. I think there will be wrinkles in Miami's defense with their new defensive coordinator. Vic Fangio was there last year. I always thought he was extremely overrated. Vic Fangio's gone. Coach Weaver is in. And I think that there could be some wrinkles to this game that we have not seen from Miami in quite some time. And that could be in personnel packages, that could be in quarterback spy, blitzes, things like that. And I also think that the young talent that Buffalo does have, Kincaid, Coleman, Keon Coleman's going to be lining up against Jalen Ramsey. And Stephon Diggs used to take Jalen Ramsey to school. Stephon Diggs is playing for the Houston Texans now. Keon Coleman is going to a new school playing against Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey is not what he was 2-3 years ago, but I do think he's a pretty good corner. Might be a little bit tough for Keon Coleman early on in this game, as well as the Buffalo Bills offense, to really be able to get open on their wide receiver routes as well as their tight end routes as they run those two tight end sets. That is a key as well. Buffalo running Knox as well as Kincaid and allowing Josh Allen to just drop back, find the open guy in short down and distance, rather than Allen running around like a chicken with his head cut off like he did last week. We don't want to see that too much because it led to Allen getting hurt, and that's a double-edged sword with Josh Allen. But I got the Bills going 2-0 against the Miami Dolphins this week, moving to 2-0 with a victory over Arizona, a victory over Miami this Thursday. Makes for a great long week of rest leading into week 3. Of course, I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take. Bills winning 28-20. And once again, never forget September 11th, 2001.